Okay, so in 2017, Kevin Spacey was having the best year of his career. House of Cards had made him one of the most powerful actors on television. His production company, Trigger Street, had produced massive hits like The Social Network, Captain Phillips, and the 50 Shades series. And he had just delivered what looked like an Oscar-winning performance as billionaire J. Paul Getty in Ridley Scott's latest movie, All the Money in the World. Everything was perfect. The performance was there, the timing was right for the award season, and his third Oscar pretty much seemed like a done deal. But then, all of a sudden, and out of nowhere, Kevin Spacey became Hollywood's most expensive problem. He basically went from being an Oscar frontrunner to a completely toxic brand. So toxic that Ridley Scott would attempt something that had never been done in Hollywood before. It was on October 30th of 2017 that BuzzFeed News released the first serious allegations against Spacey. But it wouldn't just stop there. Many more allegations would soon follow. And within hours, Netflix was canceling his lead role on the House of Cards. His agency was dropping him. And every project with his name attached was suddenly in crisis mode. But All the Money in the World was different. It was already finished and weeks away from being released. But Spacey's scandal was overshadowing everything about the movie and was destroying its chance of success before it had even been released. So Scott made the decision to completely erase Spacey and replace him with Christopher Plummer. But there was a very big problem. The release date was just 9 days away. Determined to give his movie a chance at success, Ridley Scott and his team worked around the clock, with Plummer memorizing pages of dialogue overnight while sleeping at night in his makeup and costume. Editors worked in shifts to digitally remove Spacey from scenes that couldn't be reshot. The production team had to coordinate an almost impossible schedule, with cinematographers working 18-hour days to match the exact lighting and camera angles from scenes that had been shot months earlier. Christopher Plummer even had to re-record dialogue while watching playback to match the exact timing and emotional beats of the original performance. But it just wasn't enough. I mean, yes, Plummer earned an Oscar nomination for his rushed performance, but the movie still flopped. It made just $57 million worldwide against a $50 million budget. And the movie lost millions of dollars after you account for marketing and distribution costs. Spacey's version, which cost months to film and millions to produce, must be in some sort of secret vault somewhere at Sony Pictures. It's a ghost, a multi-million-dollar waste of a movie from a career that vanished overnight. And then there are times that actors are forced to leave a movie for reasons that sound completely ridiculous. Jean-Claude Van Damme was hired to play the Predator in 1987. But back then, the alien looked totally different. The original design was this sleek, fast creature that would take down its prey with acrobatic kicks and flips. So it seemed like a perfect match. Hire the guy famous for doing fancy kicks to play a monster with lethal acrobatic skills. But Van Damme had problems with everything. First, the costume was a nightmare. And what happens when you're a world-class fighter stuffed into a 40-pound rubber suit with no air conditioning? Well, you keep passing out in the middle of a tropical jungle from all the heat, just like Van Damme did. The crew would regularly find him collapsed on the ground, steaming inside his alien outfit. And it got so much worse because Van Damme just couldn't stop being Van Damme. He kept trying to do his famous kickboxing moves inside a monster suit that wasn't built for high kicks. But the real problem was simple. Van Damme was 5'10". And there is no amount of movie magic that could make a short Belgian guy look like a scary alien that could hunt a 6'2" Arnold Schwarzenegger. So they fired Van Damme and hired Kevin Peter Hall instead. Hall was 7'2" and had just played Bigfoot in Harry and the Hendersons. And the movie makers completely changed the Predator design to fit Hall's huge frame. This created the famous clicking, dreadlocked monster we know today. And so, basically, Van Damme got fired for being too short and doing too many fancy kicks. Anyway, Predator became a massive hit, and Kevin Peter Hall's towering performance created a movie monster that is still popular today. The movie made Arnold even more famous, and has since had many sequels. Meanwhile, Van Damme went on to star in Bloodsport the very next year, and eventually moved on to better things. So in a weird way, Van Damme getting fired from Predator for doing too many kicks might have been the best thing that ever happened to everyone involved. Then there is the somewhat tragic story of Eric Stoltz, who was the original lead actor in Back to the Future. This guy wasn't some unknown actor. He was a rising star who'd just blown audiences away in a movie called Mask, a movie that co-starred Cher and Sam Elliott, about an intelligent teenager who suffered from a facial deformity. Anyway, the Back to the Future producers hired him to play Marty McFly, and he threw himself into the role. But after weeks of filming, director Robert Zemeckis reviewed the footage and realized Stoltz wasn't bringing the amount of comedy the role needed. He found himself caught between the vision he had for his movie and the brutal reality of filmmaking. The decision he made next would potentially devastate one actor and catapult another to A-list superstardom. On January 10th, 1985, Zemeckis personally broke the devastating news to Stoltz. The conversation must have been heartbreaking. How do you tell someone they're being erased from what could be the biggest movie of their career? Especially after the fact that Stoltz had already filmed major scenes, including the time travel sequences and interactions with Doc Brown. But all of that footage went straight into the trash when Michael J. Fox took over. So the movie that made Fox a global superstar and launched one of the biggest franchises in Hollywood, Stoltz did it first, and nobody will ever see his version. Back to the Future made over $380 million worldwide, and the franchise became a cultural phenomenon that's still loved. It is a timeless classic and one of Hollywood's most enduring franchises, complete with sequels, merchandise, and a Broadway musical. Years later, Stoltz looked back on the experience with surprising peace. I rarely look back, if at all, but in retrospect, I think just getting through that difficult period helped me realize how freeing it really was, he told Movie Hole years later. While Michael J. Fox became a global superstar from the role, Stoltz went back to acting school, moved to Europe, and built a successful career in serious dramas. And you know what? He never seemed bitter about missing out on one of the biggest franchises in history. Okay, here's a genuine question. When was the last time you ever saw the cast and crew boycott and protest their own movie? Something they had spent months producing with blood, sweat, and tears? Well, that's what happened with The Dying of the Light, 2014. This film was so bad, the cast and crew made a rare public protest by wearing t-shirts showing their non-disparagement clauses.